Wasteland Wednesday! Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die is a 2025 American sci-fi film directed by Gore Verbinski and stars Sam Rockwell, Juno Temple, Haley Lou Richardson, Michael Peña, and Zazie Beetz. The plot follows a time-traveling man going back in time to recruit the perfect team of ordinary people to save the future from apocalyptic AI. That description and that cast sounds, pretty fun, right? Pretty promising. I liked the trailer a whole lot. I like Sam Rockwell. Who doesn't? Gore Verbinski is an interesting director. I love The Ring. I was down. The film begins with our time-traveling hero, played by Sam Rockwell, walking into an LA diner one night. He actually never tells anyone his name. This is something I had to think about after watching it, because I was like, what is his name? He doesn't have one. Or he probably has one, but you don't get it. So, on the topic of Sam Rockwell, though, like I said, I liked him. I actually think I love the guy. He's just great. When have you ever been underwhelmed by any of Sam Rockwell's performances? I know I haven't, not that I can think of. I probably haven't seen a lot of movies that he's in, but I've seen a good handful. I mean, he's been around for decades now. He's kind of like a Nick Cage for me, where he gives it his all every time, regardless of the movie. He's less goofy than Nick Cage, but I think my point remains. Seriously, though, does anyone else want to watch Matchstick Men now? Because I know I do. So he's done this same exact mission and failed over 100 times because he needs exactly the right crew because he can't do it himself. So it has to be, the way he states it, it literally has to be the right combination of people. He doesn't exactly state what that combination is, but it's important. So as he says, in the LA diner, it's kind of like a Groundhog Day type thing. Because it just, every time the mission fails, he's able to rewind, go back in time and try again until he gets it right, which clearly he has not yet. So, this scene was a blast, honestly. I really, really liked the first act in this movie is really strong. I was just laughing really, really hard in the theater. But I gotta say, this movie, for me at least, I mostly peaked in the first act. I was actually surprised to see the positive scores on the really, really positive scores on Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb, but I don't really use or even trust Rotten Tomatoes at all at this point. So Rockwell's character is by far the most entertaining here, I think, and there are some decent characters. He kind of almost carries the movie. At times he does. Some of the other characters, like I said, are good too, but Sam is more consistent. He's the comic relief here. And he's the lead after all, so this movie does depend on him. I feel like the model for his character is basically like a semi-crazy hobo, both looks and personality, so that's kind of fun. Like he's been doing this for so long, he's run himself pretty ragged, and he's just cracking jokes constantly, and most of them land. There's some pretty good zingers here. So he puts together his team of fairly interesting characters, like high school teachers, and married couple played by veteran workhorse actor Michael Peña, and Zazie Beetz, who's really been coming into her own, at least ever since I've seen her around. She just, she consistently entertains me. She seems to get better and better. And you also have an awkward birthday party princess for hire, played by Haley Lou Richardson, a single mom, and a single mom who just lost her son to a school shooting, played by Juno Temple. And all these characters, they get their own backstories, which, I love. They get their the backstory scenes also, and it is done pretty similarly to Weapons, which I thought was kind of funny. You didn't really expect that with the, all the characters kind of getting their own chapters, and then eventually, the characters are intertwining. But it's different than Weapons, and also not done nearly as well. I liked Weapons a whole lot more than I like this movie. I will give the writers credit here, though, because you know how I am with characters, like I said, or like I say all the goddamn time. And I appreciated the effort, but something just always seemed kind of off to me, even with some of the characters. I guess at times, I found the story to be kind of tonally inconsistent, and this was a bit jarring for me, at least at times. The opening scene, like I said, is by far my favorite, but it sets things up to be like this sci-fi comedy. But then we get Juno Temple's story shortly after that. And first, I don't really like the drawn-out stylistic choice of this scene. I'm not even going to try to describe it. You'll understand if you've seen it, and maybe you like it if you've seen it. But I didn't like it, and you're pretty much dropped into a scene where she's arriving at her son's high school after learning he was killed in a school shooting. Clearly a massive problem in this country, but this movie isn't really necessarily about that. But it does definitely use it. There's some social commentary in this movie for sure. So by design, this scene, the school shooting scene, it's a sad scene, of course, and Juno Temple does a good job at being a completely blindsided, mom by something like that. Nobody really ever expects these things to happen. And so, like I said, AI is the enemy here, which is probably something we will be seeing a lot of in the coming years. There's no fucking way we won't. And Susan, Juno Temple's character, is introduced to a new company that clones your children for people that have lost their kids. I want to say it's exclusively to school shootings. So again, social commentary is kind of strong here. Of course, it's satirical, but a lot of this movie is satirical, and I didn't love this part of the story, I gotta say, but it does lead to some really, really fucking funny jokes where she meets other parents who, went through the clone process and then continued to lose that clone in like 3 more school shootings. That was a knee slapper for me. And to give the writers some more credit here, I'm not necessarily big on school shooting jokes, but there's a few in this movie, and they somehow land every time. So I appreciate the taking risks like that and not just playing it safe. That's kind of a lost art right now, but it's coming back, man. The edginess. So in my opinion, not all of the writing hits that way. I've been complimenting the writers on some of their decisions. Not all of it works as well for me, because there are definitely points where this movie, in my opinion, wants to be way smarter than it really is. Like the AI program that enslaves kids through their cell phones. I mean, I don't know, man. We get it. Kids and their cell phones. Adults are just as bad nowadays. But the Michael Peña Zazie Beetz story is fun too. Even if those characters don't have as much to do later on. I feel like they kind of set them up to be a bigger part, and then they kind of, after they get their big scene, they kind of drop off a little bit. Haley Lou Richardson's story is okay. She was born with this condition where she gets sick around Wi-Fi and cell phone technology. So she, in a way, she's very important to this story. So I'm giving Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die 2.5 out of 4 stars. I thought it was okay, but very, very inconsistent, not to mention bloated, and a little drawn out. It's got cyberpunk vibes at times, which is cool, and like if The Lawnmower Man and Johnny Mnemonic are some of your favorites, you might like this movie a little more than I did. Cheers, guys. I'll see you at the multiplex. Subscribe right now, please.